All right, cool. Hello, everybody, and welcome to the 001 Radio Gamescast. Before we get into literally anything, we have some explaining to do. We're just going to get that right out of the way immediately. Ryan has been
He's dead.
lost to the winter winds. I don't want to believe it. Wyatt's just come out and say it. He's MIA right now. He literally blew away into the blizzard, and we watched as his physical form turned into a lower and lower opacity silhouette, and
He's posing with orcs in heaven now.
yeah. So our usual setup is gone. All complaints about this can be directed to me and all of the 0 social media accounts that I think have ever been linked to this podcast that I have. So anyway, with that being said, I am Brett, and here are my lovely duo of co-hosts, Alex.
Hi.
And Wyatt.
Hello.
Isn't that weird? That feels like I shouldn't be allowed to say that.
It's very strange.
Yeah.
But we're rolling with it.
It feels like it's finally time to do the class PowerPoint presentation, and I've prepared myself, days, literally sleepless nights for a whole week. Oh, say this, and then say this, and then yeah, and just don't look at your notes enough, and you get a great grade, and then you finally stand up there, and it's just
and then the guy before you does a PowerPoint exclusively on oranges.
You've got the notes written on your hand, but then you had taken a shower that morning, so it's all smudged and you can't read it.
And you're sweating on top of it, so you just had this mysterious, just black ooze drifting down your arm that is way more interesting looking and thought-provoking than your presentation. But anyway, I don't know where all the audience is at, but around these parts, it's friggin' cold outside. It is, at least when we're filming this, who knows when someone could be listening or watching. It's exactly 1 week before Christmas time.
Can you believe it? Just a week away.
Just a week away.
Wow.
Finally.
So close.
I definitely have all of my Christmas shopping done.
Oh, of course.
Wow. Just a week. Can you believe it? So exciting.
And this being a gamer gamecast, what would we talk about besides games that might align with the temperature that is outside? I think as the history of games have gone on, we've definitely gotten better at having that wintry atmosphere properly crafted. But I think there would be little argument against the fact that people have been putting snowy areas into their games for a very long time. And just like some songs from older SNES games or whatever that have that that's the Snow Village theme or whatever. That's wow. That sure does make it feel like, even though it's August and I'm sitting in my room sweating, it really does feel like Christmas is a week away. So we're gonna talk about snowy, wintry, maybe some Christmas holiday games. I don't know. This is gonna be a very chill episode. I regret.
Very chill.
This is going to be the shortest episode ever because I'm stopping it right now.
Oh, snow. You did the pun.
Shut up. But
I'm feeling that we're going to have a chilly reception.
I'm frozen in embarrassment at all of the things we've just said and are now on record of saying.
This episode is really starting off real ice. Let me tell you.
It's gone downhill like you're on a sled or something. So I don't know if everyone.
I think we're slang.
Oh no, that's the worst one.
Wow.
One. Oh god.
What were we talking about again?
I was just about to say, I don't know if anyone else made a little list of their snowy games / areas / missions, whatever examples to bring to the GamerCast.
I did.
But
I have a good few.
To begin, since no one can stop me, even though you definitely can if you really wanted to, I'll start.
Dear God, no.
I know at least one of us will cover my back here when I say that Halo has some really good snowy missions in it.
Oh boy, does it.
It's got some of the best, dare I say, for games that have snowy missions in it. At least serious ones. Like I tried to avoid your Animal Crossings and your Mario's or whatever, because I don't know what someone else would pick. But I
have a Mario game on this list.
I had Animal Crossing.
There you go.
Yeah.
I should host more often. Anyway, the memory of going through Halo Combat Evolved for the first time as a child on my crummy laptop with a trackpad and not an actual mouse, which was absolute torture.
Oh wow!
Getting to, I believe the mission, because I always confuse it with Silent Cartographer, which is not, Assault on the Control Room, where you go through and you're just in hallways for a really long time, and it's like, geez, am I playing a Halo game with the big open environments, or like what's going on? This is a real downgrade. And then after that, the doors finally open, and it's snowing outside, and like very genuinely like the music has like bells and like soft violin. It feels like an action-y Christmas song almost. And it's just great. That mission, atmosphere wise, is really awesome, and especially for like a nostalgic memory. That is what my brain thinks of when I think of snowy missions or parts of games, because like I said, you got the music going along with it, and I think it was really like just a super expert twist atmospherically, in a game full of atmospheric twists, to just kind of like trick you into thinking that this game is going to be, green, and then all of a sudden it's white. That's crazy. What a Bungie classic. And then, of course, later on in the series, another mission that is similarly nostalgic but completely different mood-wise is right before the Warthog run at the end of Halo 3, when you have that big classic Forerunner pyramid with the cartographer in it or whatever, and just again the song that plays there, and just that classic snowy Halo environment.
Is that because the one I was thinking of was, and I can't remember the name of it off the top of my head, but it's the one where you're fighting two scarabs at the same time, and basically they just give you a ton of vehicles, and they're like, have at it.
That is another good example that I did not even think of.
Yeah, that's my favorite mission from Halo 3, because the scarabs are so much fun to fight. They give you like every vehicle under the sun, and they're like, just do it. Just do it. We don't care how you do it, but just do it.
I wouldn't be surprised. I think maybe every single vehicle in the game besides the elephant is there for you to use, and with at least one version of it, which is crazy. Like, that is the sandbox up to 5 million, and it's a snowy mission.
Yeah. And it also feels like an apology for how they handled scarabs in Halo 2. Yeah. Because the scarab in all the marketing for Halo 2 was built up to be this like awesome boss fight, and the mission in Halo 2 that leads up to it, it's got this great introduction. It's like genuinely terrifying, and then you fight it and it's like, who cares? It's like the lamest boss fight in Halo history, and that's saying a lot. We're talking about Halo boss fights, and that's saying
a game that now has Infinite to add to the spectrum.
Well, that's a different story, but like, I mean, I would say it's better than like, what's this face, Warden Eternal from Halo 5, but like,
and there's also the QuickTime event boss.
Oh god, in Halo 4. Oh god.
the end of the game.
Oh god, right. But no, this feels like an apology for that, because the scarabs are a lot of fun to fight because you have to rely on the sandbox in order to actually defeat it. It's not, oh, we're going to put you up high so you can hop right in and it's not a big deal. No, we're going to start you at its feet. We're going to have you in a tiny little mongoose with some piece of crap AI with a rocket launcher on the back.
Yeah.
Figure it out. Figure it out. And it was great. And then here it's like, oh, you thought one was kind of nuts? Well, here's two. Have fun.
with like 20 banshees flying around and a bunch of fuel rod guys shooting at you from the ground. You start that part of the mission in a tank too, And oh my god, you switch to
And
the Hornets or whatever. It's classic, dude. It's
and
classic. Halo.
you've got Marty O'Donnell just shredding on the
Yeah,
keys.
going insane. I think this is a mission too, where if you fly your Hornet up to the side of that one big shield generator and like walk up the side of it, if you stand there for a while, you can hear Microsoft Sam talk to you.
Wait, really?
Yeah, if you wait for long enough. It's really quiet in MCC. At least last time that I did. I don't know if they fixed it because I know there's some sound issues in that game. But Microsoft Sam. On one side, it's Microsoft Sam and maybe like a skull or something, and the other side is you hear Siege of Madrigal, the one classic Marty song that comes back sometimes. It's been there for a while. But it's cool Easter egg. But yeah, I think I was thinking about this last night, and this is a tangent that might maybe open up to other people, or it might just be its own conversation. I felt like in a lot of games, that have here is the lava area, here's the green grassy fields area, here's the desert area, here's the city area. I feel like when you get to the snow zone, that's when you know you're getting close to the end of the game. At least
Usually
it's like
feel late game-ish, doesn't it?
yeah, and I don't. As I was literally going through a list of a bunch of games that I've played. Like, is it like this here? Is it like this here? And I kind of realized that it's not like that most of the time, but it does feel like that, at least in my brain.
Well,
I think that's because so often, narratively, it's the dark and it's the darker, it's the cooler, it's the more stormy part of something. It's closer to the narrative, like sort of belly of the whale bit before redemption things.
It is crazy that you mentioned that, because that transitions us beautifully into one of the games on my list here, which is The Last of Us, specifically the winter
yes
segment.
One or two?
One. Two is a whole rabbit hole that I don't want to get into right now.
for our own safety, we won't talk about that.
Yeah. But it's hard to talk about it without spoilers. I mean, there's not really much that's spoiled. It's more of like a false spoiler, I guess. And to talk about why that beginning part works so well. Let me put it this way. At the end of one chapter, there's a cliffhanger. And then as they go into the winter chapter, they don't really specify or follow up on that cliffhanger until later in the chapter.
So there's a time skip into winter?
Yes. See, I know we try and avoid spoilers on it. It's not really I'm having a hard time talking about this, but that's partially what makes it so great. And then the other part is just it kind of introduces like a villain very briefly into the story as well, which is great. And it's a section where you play as Ellie and not Joel, which is, or at least for the first part of it, which is fascinating because they had said in the marketing leading up to the release of it that you'll always play as Joel, you'll never play as Ellie, which was a deliberate lie. They're like, this is gonna blow their minds. This is gonna be great.
Like a liar.
They never lied in their marketing again.
Never
again. But no, it's a great section because the previous chapter leaves things on such like a what's going on, like on such a tense note, and it doesn't answer your questions right away, and so you're not really sure what's happening because the chapter starts in such a secluded specific spot, and so it just doesn't give you any information about what just happened. It's fascinating, and it also leads into Left Behind, which is the DLC chapter, which cuts between the time that was spent between the previous chapter and the winter chapter and Ellie's past, and it intercuts between the two.
That's cool.
Which is and it's also the DLC is not like snow related, but it takes place in the middle of winter while you're in like an abandoned mall, and then it cuts back to Ellie's past while she's also in a different mall, and there's this really anyway, that's besides the point. I'm cutting myself off. But no, it's like a big kind of format shift to what we're used to in the game, because we're like used to Joel and Ellie, and we're witty, awesome, great emotional dialogue and getting from point A to point B. Here it's like, I don't know what's going on. I'm playing as Ellie, which I was told was never going to happen.
And I'm scared.
Where's Joel? And it's fantastic. Probably one of my favorite chapters in the game.
I feel like there is definitely something thematically there too about having it be like a snowy winter thing, that like, because it kind of feels like you're smash cut into this situation with kind of with your pants down a little bit. And at least like having that super like wintry vibe, like it's classically, if you're alone and there's in the middle of a blizzard, you are screwed. Evolutionarily, your brain has evolved to tell you that you are absolutely boned unless you are previously prepared or something. And I feel like that's like, that comes into storytelling a lot.
Yeah. And as someone who grew up in, rural Vermont, where
probably it's close to home
where
a little bit.
It's very cold, very, very cold. Being cold in the snow by yourself is one of the most lonely things you can go through.
Mm-hmm.
And so to have Ellie by herself in this section of the game in just pure winter, so well done.
Marketed melancholy.
Manufactured melancholy. But yeah, such a great chapter, and it leads really, really well into Left Behind. And if you want to do so, if you want to play everything in chronological order, it's fun to end the fall chapter, play Left Behind, and then play Winter, because that's
it's a separate thing that you queue into, or start.
Left Behind is like a DLC that came out after the game, and so it cuts between Ellie's backstory a little bit. You learn a lot more about her, and the lead up to the Winter chapter. And so if you want to play it in chronological order, it's a very interesting way of playing the game as well, something that you couldn't do before the DLC came out.
So I wondered, because we have, I forget, is Last of Us Part 1 remake thing or whatever out already, or is it not out
yes
yet?
I think it is.
I've already completed it, actually.
Okay, well, doesn't surprise me. But did they integrate that in, or is it still?
They did. So Left Behind is there, and it's fully remastered as well, which is nice.
I was gonna say that would kind of suck if they made you pay for
that would
a separate
really, because they already took out multiplayer, so
a little bit of an extra downgrade there. But
but it's still there. It looks gorgeous, and
You got anything for us, Alex?
I do. I'll go ahead and I'll say the thing that was already Brett sort of psychically linked with us unbeknownst earlier. Also, my first one was Animal Crossing. Was the because I just recently started to get on that train. Well, not recently. When the most recent game came out alongside Doom, so that was the fun one. I think it's winter time for me definitely gets more into the less action heavy and more. I'm not too big on simulation games, but certainly more leaning into the simulation genre for that. And then Animal Crossing, has they have the you can change your calendar around, but that's not really something that they that's something that they frown upon. But they have the seasonal the seasonal events. That's what I've been trying to say for the past what feels like 5 minutes. When it is winter, you can do winter things. When it is a holiday, you can do holiday things. And the climate changes on your island. It gets all snowy. You can catch different fish and things like that. You can get different fruit from trees and things like that. Very nice. Just a very calming aesthetic change. And I feel like
the vibes are strong.
With the cold outside, I want to shift into like management mode inside on games where it's just like tidy up time and things like that. Yeah, that's Yeah, that's certainly the Animal Crossing feeling
Mhm.
for that. So it's pretty much the only seasonal event that I go back and play Animal Crossing for right now. So I have experienced winter the past 2 years on that game, and that's pretty much it.
It's yeah. It seems like especially with the most recent Animal Crossing, that's what most people I know have. They've gone into cycles with it where like they made the mistake of doing all the things like immediately after the game came out because everyone was so excited for it and literally no one had anything else to do other than be scared when it came out.
Hmm.
Yeah.
So everyone spent all their time doing that, and then I think they kind of ran out of of incentives to keep playing.
Yeah,
Uh,
I have completed the. Oh, you know, it's something I haven't done yet that I probably should next time I boot it up for Christmassy feeling things. I have not, because this update came out a while ago. I don't know if they've come up with any updates since. They have like a cafe now that you can put
oh,
in a museum, I think. That feels like that would fit some very Christmassy vibes for me. Getting nice cafe stuff to do because hot chocolate and whatnot.
yes,
Yeah.
exactly.
Mm.
That is definitely. I don't play personally Animal Crossing at all. I think I've played co-op on it, the most recent one, very briefly, and was frustrated at how weird they did co-op in that game. But I do really like genuinely actually enjoy seeing the villages that people make and the wintertime ones are.
Oh, some people
Oh,
are so creative with how they are able to put textures down on things. It's insane.
yes, it's like Minecraft or something. Like you
Yeah.
see like a crazy Minecraft build that like just gets like all the atmosphere and environment and stuff like perfect. It's like how did you do that with so many limitations? It's crazy.
Yeah.
Uh, but yeah, I love that sort of thing. Um, I kind of back to what we were talking about before about late game areas. Uh, one I'm trying to think about how to word this without just literally repeating what I said before. Um, but the game needs little to no introduction. We've talked about Ghost of Tsushima for
Mhm.
how many
Oh.
collective hours, and I mean, it's not really spoilers. I don't think. I was surprised. It's not like a story thing. It's just the last third of the game, the very tippy top of the island, is real dang cold. So it's
Yeah.
covered in snow everywhere, and that is an example of a newer game that I have played that just like that winter atmosphere is ooh, that like
Yeah.
that specific area, especially because combat by that point, certain parts of it got really difficult because you have all the enemies with like the fire swords and stuff by that point.
Oh, it
Um,
gets sadistic at times, especially on the higher
yeah, it's pretty
difficulties.
crazy. Which like not to say it isn't satisfying, but like it was just
Yeah.
very calming to just ride around on your horse in that winter zone
Yeah.
and just like oh
Your
my god,
horse, not
yes,
not.
yes, your horse, not anybody else's
mm.
horse, your
uh.
horse.
Uh-huh.
uh, but I think also something that game does too is that I don't know how many games you can play or like things that most casual American media experiencers can experience that do like very cold, deep winter, like old school Japan as a setting, right? Uh,
Yeah.
I think it's very interesting to kind of see like that juxtaposition of all those like the Shinto shrines and the pagoda style buildings and stuff that you kind of associate with a more moderate islandy
Mhm.
climate, uh, just covered in like 3 feet of snow all over the place, but still being like bright red. It's very striking.
Hmm.
You know, I've always wanted to ask you this, Brett.
Mm-hmm.
Do you think that for this section of the game, they should have had some sort of like system or mechanic where you have to stay warm? It's like, oh, it's really
Um,
cold and not and like especially in your like traveler's gear, right? It's like, wow, you're not really bundled up that well.
Yeah, you
That
can
looks kind of
literally wear
strange.
just like the underwear and with like a
Yeah,
bucket on your head.
I'm wearing just like underwear. Yeah, with the bucket on my head. Like, I wonder if it would have been interesting. Maybe like have the area be a little bit smaller than it is in the actual game, but have it be more about like you got to survive the cold a little bit.
Yeah, I wonder because the problem with that is like how much is that gonna limit your fashion or whatever? Like, because people, the outfits in that game can look amazing.
The fashion end
Yeah,
game.
And
yeah.
when you limit something like that around a mechanic, you kind of run into the problem of like, well, this thing that I like wearing is no longer viable because now it's too cold out or whatever. I feel
Yeah.
like at least they could have gone like if you are a hooligan that runs around with just like the sumo wrestler wrappings around your
Oh,
crotch and a basket on your head, like if you could see Jin like shivering or something. I don't. They might have that.
Hmm.
I wouldn't be surprised, but um,
yeah.
yeah, I don't know because I feel like they could totally fit something like that in, but there's always problems with that sort of thing.
Yeah. And I will say too, that's another good example of like uh the way that you feel going into that section of the game where it's all snowy, right? And you feel
Hmm.
really bad in terms of
Yeah.
the story and everything just went to shit.
Makes sense. It's like, there it is again.
That's
You
how
always
yeah,
there it is
that's
again
how The
with the
Last of
low point of the
Us.
story being in snow.
That's the feeling that you get in Last of Us as well, where it's like, wow, everything just went to absolute crap.
Hmm. Hmm.
And now we're stuck in the cold. Fantastic. Great. Love it. Love it here.
It's not just the equivalent of, well, at least it isn't raining. You're right, it's not raining. It's freezing rain.
It's even worse
Yeah.
than regular rain. Uh,
Yeah.
yeah, I love that last part of that game so much. It's something that I've realized going back to play it for the DLC that they added a while ago. Is that game is so long and involved that I don't think I'll ever get to the snow areas again on a new playthrough because it takes so long to get there.
Yeah.
Which is it's totally worth it for like a first time playthrough, especially because
Yeah.
like you said, Wyatt, the story at that point is just so good. But
Messes you up.
seriously,
Messes you up.
uh, just
But
takes so long.
I'm gonna throw, if we're ready to move on, because I'm
Yeah.
gonna throw a monkey wrench into our theory that all
Oh.
of the snow levels are at the end of the game. Here's a game where the snow level isn't at the very beginning, but it's earlier on. Well, it's like mission 3, so it is pretty early on in the game.
Hmm.
Brett will know what I'm talking about.
Oh
Modern
boy.
Warfare 2 Cliffhanger.
Ah, yes.
The snow
Huh.
mission, the
Hmm.
first person snow mission that isn't Halo.
Yeah, pretty
This is
much.
the other example of like I feel like this is used in everything. Like when they showed off Modern Warfare 2 remastered, this is the level that they
Yeah.
showed. And a lot of the marketing, this is the level that they
Hmm.
showed. Because it's awesome. And it starts off like freezing cold. You can see everyone's like breath, and you have to climb up these like ice walls with
Yeah.
your pick, which is
Oh.
kind of fun. And then they give you it's really like there's a lot of like snow being blown around, so the visibility is really crap. So they give you like a heartbeat sensor attached to the side of your gun, and you have to sneak around, which is kind of
Huh.
fun. They have these fun little twists where like your buddy Soap is on Overwatch, right? And he's like watching everything with like a thermal sniper rifle, like a thermal scope. And he's like, "All right, I'm gonna take these two guys out in front of you. And if you take him out first, it's like, or you got it, whatever." And then everything blows up. It all goes to crap because, of course, it does. It's Call
I'm
of
assuming,
Duty.
is there an avalanche on this snowy
Not an
map?
avalanche, but an awesome snowmobile chase.
Yeah,
That
that is the
Ooh.
part that is remembered fondly the most, I would
yeah,
say.
it's but you got to build up to it to make it that much more
Exactly.
impactful, right? It's
Exactly.
a really well paced mission, and it's one of those examples of like, yes, this is a very linear corridor shooter, and they tell you exactly where to go. But if you pace it well enough, you have interesting kind of like mini mechanics in there to kind of keep things interesting, and you just pace it really well, you can still make it a good time. It doesn't have to. It's okay if something is really linear as long as you pace it well enough, in my opinion.
Yeah,
And this is a
definitely.
really good example of that. Um, And the best part is that snowmobile level, you're not just riding on the back of someone else's snowmobile while you're shooting a machine gun. No, you're driving the snowmobile with one hand and you have a machine pistol
Oh
in the other
God.
hand and you're shooting people down as you're driving.
Of
It's
course.
awesome. It's so good.
I like that's like when COD is at its best. Is I feel like when it literally like just drains the like all the possible things that could happen in a given mission, and just like
Yeah.
just every single little droplet of mission juice is used in in the final
Knock,
creation.
knock, knock.
It's
It's every set piece.
Yeah.
But that's like, I feel like above like the crazy spectacle of everything, that's always been like Call of Duty campaigns like secret weapon is that they're paced so those missions are
Yeah.
paced so well. Even in like lesser games, like I'm gonna say this. Even in lesser Call of Duty games like Call of Duty Ghosts, you still get missions that are really, really well paced from time to time. And you're like, I'm still
Mhm.
kind of having fun because I'm not immediately bored, you know?
Yeah.
And like, man, those like a lot of people feel as though the campaigns are throwaway and they're there for marketing, and I get that, but like whoever's working on them, they understand. I keep coming back to pacing. They understand pacing really, really well, and that's so important for a linear shooter. And this is a great example of that, in my opinion.
Yeah, definitely. So I super agree, because even in Modern Warfare 2019, which is a campaign I don't like the most, like they switch things up like all
Yeah,
the time, and they present
yeah,
you with a lot of cool moments, and just even like is there's no snowy winter mission in 2019, I don't think, because of
no,
where it takes place on
yeah,
the
it's Middle East.
yeah, the
That's
made
it.
up country. uh
Yeah.
but like just I don't, the way that COD is always kind of
Oh.
like, they got the foggy breath because it's cold out or whatever. You have to use like the heartbeat sensor or something, like you said, because like visibility's low or something, like just all the ways that they would make you have to use all these things you might not usually like. Yeah,
Yeah.
okay. If you look at them just in like the multiplayer or something, and you're like, oh well, this thing sucks. Why would you ever use that? And that's might be because it's in a really cool campaign mission and it's used very well there. And why
Yeah.
wouldn't they put it in the multiplayer? But it can't be overpowered, so
And I always kind of like raise an eyebrow when people criticize Call of Duty for having like, oh, you have this gimmick or this mechanic that lasts one mission and then it's over. I'm like, yeah, but that's the reason everyone loves Titanfall 2
That's
so much.
yeah,
that's why
yeah,
it's called a gimmick.
Like
exactly.
it makes a mission feel more unique when it has a unique system or mechanic to it. Like I don't understand why that's necessarily a bad thing.
Yeah,
I
because
don't.
the one thing that, because I 150 million% agree with you here. The one thing that people might not realize is always worse than a cool mechanic being around for a little bit and not coming back is a mechanic that is like cool and then it just stays there and overstays its welcome and just loses all of that fresh newness.
Hey, Ubisoft, are you listening to this conversation? Do you hear us?
No, it's falling on deaf ears.
And that's it's a weird thing to call, right? Because when does something become the equivalent to like the time travel watch in Titanfall 2, where
Yeah.
that's very clearly a gimmick, and where I feel like it's a very like strange blurry line to where something goes from that to just being a part of the sandbox. Because like when
Yeah.
we were talking about like the reason that the mission with the two scarabs, or at least one of the many reasons that the mission with two scarabs in it is fun, is because the whole vehicular sandbox is open to you in that part of Halo 3. Like there's literally like the only thing holding you back is that like they can't give you infinite space, obviously, because
Yeah.
it's just impossible.
And your own creativity on how to use those vehicles too.
Exactly, yeah. But I think too, like, at least in Halo's case, like to if you overuse a certain part of the sandbox too, that can get kind of annoying. Like if every single vehicle
Yeah.
in if every single vehicle or if every single mission in a Halo game was in some part a vehicle mission, it would probably get really boring to drive those vehicles around an entire open world, huh? Uh,
Oh, I was about to ask if this was a dunk on Infinite, but I
it's
figured it
always a
out.
dunk on Infinite.
Yeah.
Also, during the length of this conversation, my list is now increased by 3 entries.
Good. I'm glad.
That's good. That's good.
Because we're still in the relatively early stages. We can keep this going.
Wow.
Might as well.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And you know what? Unless you got anything more Call of Duty to say, why I think that's the perfect time to segue onto you, Alex.
No, I mean,
Wow.
I think, yeah.
I have something that is not Call of Duty to say, but because you all know how I feel about that.
Yeah.
But
It's your favorite
the
franchise.
one sort of modern military shooter that I have played is Modern Warfare 4.
Wait, what?
Hang on.
Not a fourth one.
No, is it? Oh God, what's the Battlefield 4? That's the thing.
Oh, there you go.
You can tell that I don't play the military shooters much. Battlefield 4. The Prison Break mission where you.
Oh my God! There's a campaign in Battlefield 4. I forgot.
Uh-huh.
There's a Prison Break mission where you end up in a Russian gulag, and then you get out of it, and you're trekking your way across like a snowy mountaintop ridge to try to get to a. Oh God, it's very set piecey and fun. There's nothing too particularly mechanically different with the snow you're doing. You're not like hiding your heat signature or stuff like that or anything, but it's mainly aesthetics and a fun, really mountain ridge gulag escape type bit after you get out of the freezing prison. But it's either I don't think it's a heli landing pad. I think you're trying to get your way to a cable car, and you know what has to happen in cable cars in first person shooters. It's a very fun set piece to derail, literally.
Yeah.
Speaking of derailing, you know what was in the snow? The train sequence from Call of Duty World War II was
I do
in the
love
snow.
trains. Oh my God, that was in the snow?
I think it was.
Oh my God.
Man.
Wow.
And that is an unforgettable scene.
It's probably one of the best COD moments I've ever witnessed in my entire life. It's incredible.
To derail further, even though I do want to go back and talk about Battlefield 4 again because that game rocks. I am not surprised that the same guy that made the train cutscene is also Mr. Callisto Protocol. I think
Wait, what?
Yes.
Huh.
Wow. I'm pretty. It's at least his team. I want to say he was involved with that because, he left working on Call of Duty for a while, right? To work in his own studio, and I think he went back for a little bit. I don't think I'm entirely talking out of my ass for this.
Okay.
Because I remember watching a video where someone was analyzing Dead Space and they mentioned it. If I figure out that this is wrong, I'll talk about it next time and apologize. But
speak now, fact check later.
Exactly. There's no time. But even if it isn't Glenn Schofield, right? That's his name.
Mm-hmm.
There's at least a lot of similarities from what I have seen from both. In that, by God, are they over the top to the point of being silly? Because like, just the like, something about gruesome death animations being a marketing bullet point is comedic.
It's so goofy. It's
like
so goofy.
Like, you think of that, and you think of the Call of Duty train scene where it just goes on for like 5 minutes of unending catastrophe.
And I feel like I have to say this every time we bring this up, but like, if you want a good laugh, you just want to make yourself feel better, go watch that scene on YouTube. It's not like a gameplay sequence, it's like a cut scene.
Mm-hmm.
And it is the funniest thing you will see all week. I swear to you, you will laugh your ass off and you will thank us.
It feels like it's on the same like level of comedy as the like those first run of the new Mummy trailers where they forgot to add in like half of the sound effects and any of the music, so it's constant like things flying at the screen and just like weird Foley, and it doesn't stop. It just keeps going.
It occasionally it stops for a second and then keeps going again. It's like perfect comedic timing, and it's like there's no way that this wasn't supposed to be hilarious.
Exactly. It doesn't feel
I
like
don't
it happened by
understand.
accident. It's too funny.
It's like someone got bored making the sequence and like, all right, let's just make it a gigantic joke. Why not?
It's like the thing you would do if you're like one of those like scummy like canon movie like higher ups or something. It's like, well, we gotta hit the feature length in order to sell this as a proper movie. We gotta pad this scene out, make sure it goes on for longer. But it's a video game, you don't have to do that. Oh my god! But back to Battlefield 4, because I think there's more to say here, because this game had a whole dang winter DLC of
yes,
4
it did.
maps.
It did what?
Did.
Maps for like multiplayer and stuff, not single player DLC.
Yes,
it's a shooter.
Yeah. And it's a Battlefield game, and I think it's, while some of them have been good single player wise, like because they've done the little separate mission things for the last little bit, I think there's a reason that 2042 did away with the single player for Battlefield games, because I think they've lost all the heart that they used to for the older ones that people seem to like a lot.
Good to not make one if you don't have the capability of making a plot with heart.
Yeah, if they were going to decide on not making things because they didn't have the capability to do it, they just shouldn't have made Battlefield 2042 at all, if you ask me. But
they had to have the money, though. They had to have the money.
They had the money.
No. They had to have other people's money. They had to take it from them.
If you want my take on it, I think they wanted to do Portal, and they had to decide whether they wanted to do Portal or campaign, and they picked Portal, which I think was the right decision, because Portal is one of the only things that anyone has anything positive to say about.
Yeah.
And Portal, as someone who's played around with it a little bit, is really neat and cool, but yeah.
I think it stops at neat, unfortunately.
Yeah, it is fun to go back and play some classic Battlefront and or not Battlefront, Bad Company 2 and Battlefield 3 and 4 maps and weapons and stuff, but the novelty kind of wears off after a bit.
Because at least using the server browser for it, you could just kind of see that 90% of the people are just using it for XP farms and not for actually playing.
Oh, why don't I go back and play a good Battlefield game?
Yeah, exactly. Which we can lump 1 and 5 in here at least for the multiplayer snow discussion.
That's right.
Like, oh my god, the snow DLC for I forget what the actual official name for it is called, so I'm just gonna call it the snow DLC for 4, the one that was leading up to Battlefield 2143 or whatever. We were finally gonna get the sequel to that old game, and we're gonna know. It was so cool, because all the things that Battlefield likes to do with you just be playing on your map, and it'll just start storming rain, and you're
Operation Wipeout.
Yes,
that's what it was called.
Yes.
Sorry, keep going. It was gonna bother me.
But like, you know what I mean, where you're just playing a normal round of Conquest, and like a sandstorm comes through and just sweeps just everything with a just giant cloud of orange. It just makes everything impossible to see, and it's so cool. Oh my god, it's so cool. And just blizzards are the same thing, but they're in that snow atmosphere that Battlefield 4 already does really good. But on those big open maps, when a blizzard hits, and it's just like, oh my gosh, I have to change my playstyle. I have to put on the IRNV scopes and try something different. Impossible to ask, which is why people complain about it all the time. But I love it's cool.
Environmental hazards that force you to change your playstyle instead of just being set dressing.
Exactly, and they happen randomly too most of the time, which is cool.
Yeah.
Only thing I'll say is that when you're playing that one Battlefield 5 map at the top of the mountain, and you're flying a plane and a blizzard hits, it's just
sweet.
It's sweet until you crash into a rock. Like it literally becomes a horror game.
You're good.
Exactly.
You're good.
Because you could just be flying so fast in like a Spitfire or something, and you have like 1 millisecond to react to an entire mountain coming at you at like 80 miles an hour. It's terrifying.
When did that thing move in front of me?
Exactly.
I will say,
How did that get there?
Battlefield 5's Narvik map is really, really good.
It's pretty.
It's got, it's pretty. It's got. There's so I feel like there's so much variety to it because you've got that little section of like that little village. So there's almost like a bit of like suburban warfare going on there. You've got this giant train bridge with like a couple capture points underneath it. That's kind of fun. You've got the lumber yard right below it. A lot of like, and then just like a bit of like a hilltop too with some like concrete buildings and stuff. Just a cool map.
Yeah, that is in a game full of mid. That game that map is a Battlefield ass map. That is
that's a good Battlefield map right there.
probably what they put in the beta. I would think. Probably want to show you best of them first.
Although for some reason I always got it when I played Battlefield, like it would come up very often, like more so than the other maps. So I got a little sick of it after a while.
Yeah.
It's like,
especially
where's Twisted Steel? Where's the other ones?
Yeah. I like Twisted Steel too. That map is
Twisted Steel was great.
Devs, just put a big bridge on your map. Just even if it doesn't belong there, just put a big bridge in the middle of it, and you'll at least get 2 people to enjoy it more.
We need a whole episode about Battlefield and just the long, complicated history that I think both you and I have with it, and just like air it all out finally.
Yeah. On a day where everyone else is dead and gone, it's just you and I. Wyatt will have to do the Battlefield breakdown episode, and I'm not talking about a breakdown of the mechanics. I'm talking about
a mental breakdown.
Yeah. which I have to say, I mean, that's the reason that I started talking about the multiplayer maps, because I don't think I ever finished playing the Battlefield 4 campaign ever. I think I got
No, I don't think I did either.
I got to a part where like you're driving around an LAV in like a rainy city or something, and there's a bunch of other tanks and stuff, and I was like, this sucks.
I think that's the same spot where I stopped. Where I was like, this sucks.
I remember that. Yeah, it's right after you get on. You go to the beach, then you get a little truck thing that you're driving through. You're trying to get to an airport, I think.
That sounds maybe about right. That doesn't sound why do you
remember this?
because that's the only thing I'll ever remember first-person shooter games for. I focus on campaigns and story.
Yeah, this is his Battlefield 4 experience. Right? Who are you to take that away from him?
Oh, I'm not taking away anything. I'm just genuinely curious.
I'm sure if I played a Call of Duty game, I would never play multiplayer, except for like maybe 2 or 3 times when friends dragged me into it, and I would just replay the campaign if it was a good one.
Yeah,
I can't blame you for that.
Well, to pull us out of first-person shooters for a second, I'm going to bring us into a different area here. I have 2 different Nintendo games on my list here, and the first one I'm going to talk about, family games, right? The first one I'm going to talk about is the one that I feel like I have more of a connection to than this other one. Zelda Breath of the Wild, specifically the Herba Mountains or Herba Mountains, however you pronounce them. Basically these giant mountains where it gets really, really cold. And this is what I was talking about with Ghost of Tsushima, where like obviously Breath of the Wild, the sandbox plays a huge part in just playing the game. And here it's like you gotta be constantly making fires. You have to have like the right winter wear for it and stuff. But it's also, the higher up you go, the worse your visibility gets. And so I remember spending one night, it was freezing cold outside. It was like I'd probably played until maybe like 2 or 3 in the morning, and I was just hiking around this mountain because I had just gotten there. Like I had just gotten the right proper clothing for it. And I was like, I'm ready. And I explored the entire mountains, and I stayed up way too late. But it was this like epic journey, this epic trudge through the snow, just trying to find shrines and like all this other stuff. And I'll never forget it, because it was such an epic like just journey that I went on. And it was fantastic, because there it's like all the elements are working against you, right? Like You try and swim in the water, your stamina meter goes almost instantly, and then you're just dead.
Ooh.
And so you have to like really find clever ways to climb around, or you can like chop a tree down and then kind of like crawl on the tree as it's like floating down the river and stuff like that. If you're trying to, because they put a shrine right in the middle of a river with this like kind of like ice sheet over top of it, so you can't walk into it because of the river, so you have to find a way into it. And I always tried to like climb in through the side and then hop over, but that never worked. So eventually you had to like make a like an ice cube in the water with one of your Sheikah Slate powers and then just kind of float in. And oh, it was so cool. It just, for some reason, it was because I never stopped playing in that segment. It was just this really long, like it was a capital G gamer night, and stayed up way too late, and it was just oh, it was one of the reasons that game stands out so much to me, is just there's so many sections where you just go on this like there's no story going on, you're not on like a side quest, it's just you, and it's the open world, and you're fighting it constantly in a good way, not in like a frustrating way, in the way that the game intended. And it just it was so good, so good. I don't know
I
if
wish I
anyone
made it
else
that
here has
far.
played a lot of Breath of the Wild. Yeah, I feel like
I have,
it's
but I
one of those.
completely I completely managed to skip somehow, or I don't remember for some reason. The first like starting area snowy plateau, but like I never got the snow clothes from them at all. I'm just like I just sort of
Wait, in like the starting area, you have to go
yeah.
up there at least once
Oh,
for
you do?
the shrine. Yeah,
Huh.
because you have to go to all the shrines to get your Sheikah powers, and
I
then.
guess I wiped it from my memory somehow for
But see,
some
you don't
reason.
even get the like cold clothing in like that area. You have to go to the Rito, like the bird people, and then they sell all of like the
Oh,
cold clothing
no,
there.
no, there's a way that you can get like some type of like special
You gotta
cold
eat the spicy
shirt
food.
thing from
Oh,
the
from
Hilligan
the
King.
right, who's disguised as like the old man. Right.
Yeah.
It's in the cabin. I remember now. Yes, and that was like one of the first like items you pick up. And like, ooh, that's kind of exciting. Um, but yeah, that's and even like I have a lot of I've always had some issues with the way that like weapons work in that game, because none of them are really that special because they all break except for the well,
Yeah.
even like the master sword even kind of breaks. It like runs out of energy or
It mechanically
Yeah.
breaks.
whatever. But I picked up this. There's like a sword at the very top, and you fight. I think it's one of the stone tallest, like the rock creatures that you have to hit their like crystal on the back.
Oh yeah.
And so like a
I do like
fight,
climbing on bosses like that.
or maybe it was either the stone tallest or it was the like big centaur guy. I forget what his name is. But you fight it. I fought this big thing at the top, and then it left like a really big sword up there, and it was a sword that you can get in a lot of other places in the game. But that sword specifically, I always kept with me as like a reminder of like that's what I got at the end of this
Oh,
journey.
a
It just
Lionel,
stood
I
out to
think.
me. Lionel, thank you. Um, but yeah, I was like, so like in and of itself, not a special sword in any way, but I always kept it and I never used it because I was like,
Souvenir. Yeah,
as
you
like
don't want to
as a
break it.
souvenir, right? Will always stand out to me. I do wish Ryan was here because I feel like he'd be able to chip in a little bit more
Probably,
on that
yeah.
section. But that's fine. That's fine. We don't have to
I,
spend 2 years talking about
I,
it.
I do think maybe if they threw a little more at you in that vein from the start, I would have been more interested in just exploring, because I feel like without uh, the fun fighting against the open world, at least for me, the reason I dropped is because it kind of just felt like you were just kind of just aimlessly in a in a place, and you don't have the trudging across the mountain that's gonna kill you in 5 seconds or whatever if you slide off the edge, or like you need the right armor to go into it, or you could eat the hot
Eat the
chili
right
soup.
soups.
Yeah,
Yeah.
like
Soup time.
more of that maybe would have been cooler to bring me in for longer
Yeah.
than like 5 hours or something. But
I think the thinking was that they didn't want to throw you into that too quickly.
yeah.
And I mean, you could walk there. Like, there's almost no spots in the game where you can't go there immediately, right? So, like,
Mm-hmm.
if you really wanted that right off the bat, you could go there and do it. You'd be an idiot, and
It
you
probably
have
take
to
forever
like
even to get there.
yeah, but you could if you wanted to, if you really just like beeline for it. But yeah, I don't know. That was like that, and a bunch of other moments in that game where like it's you in the open world, and you're just, you know, you're trying to deal with each other.
Yeah.
This game ain't big enough for the two of you, so you're constantly fighting for it. And it was great. And that was like, it's not just a level, it's not just like a part of the game that is snow themed and maybe ties into like the story themes at all. No, it was like a mechanical thing where like you
Yeah,
have
yeah.
to deal with the fact that it's really, really cold.
Yeah.
Um, so yeah, that was great. That's one of those like late night gaming sessions I'm probably not gonna forget anytime soon, for sure.
We all have them.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Uh, is it me up next again, or
Yes,
is it?
I'm trying
Oh,
to avoid saying Alex, your turn after every
all right.
time Wyatt's done talking because I feel like that's like.
Well, I think we skipped you actually.
I don't
I think I
remember
skipped you.
because
I
I know you talked more about a Modern Warfare, I think, but I don't know if that was your or not Battlefield. God.
Yeah, no, I derailed everything by changing it to multiplayer, which you had not played, so I don't care.
All right.
Just-
Yeah, my so the only mainline Dark Souls game that I've played several Soul likes. The only mainline Dark Souls game that I've played has been the Dark Souls 1 remastered for the Switch version. Um
What a way to
and
start.
in
It plays
and
pretty well from what I've
in
heard.
Okay.
and in that game there is an incredibly fun DLC bit that is the Painted World.
Not
Uh
a DLC.
that's not a DLC
It is
bit?
just in the game.
What?
It feels like it should be because it's a secret, but
Oh God, I
'cause
thought that was the whole thing was the DLC because like when you started I got like this DLC item that was a doll or something that I need to match up with the painting or
in
something like that.
in Dark Souls 3, they do a callback DLC that you have to get a thing to go to a painted world that's also snowy. But in Dark Souls 1, that's just in the game.
Oh.
Yeah, the
But
DLC for
it's
Dark Souls 1 is the Artorias stuff.
Oh. Yeah, it's my favorite because I often find when I do Souls-like games, they're much more manageable when they aren't as long as like a full Dark Souls game when they're more just like the secluded little areas, like the Painted World.
Hmm.
I thought that was the perfect length for someone like me to to do like the Dark Souls mechanics in. It was really nice, compact level design that they usually have, and just like a smaller little area. I thought it was very good and very snowy. And there is a boss that you can choose to fight or not to fight at all. You don't have to have beef with her.
Yes, if you fight her, you are ostensibly a bad person, or are just trying to do a 100% run, which is very strange how close those two archetypes of people are. But that area also kicks out. I think in Dark Souls 3 it's Ariandel. I don't remember what the Dark Souls 1.
I
It's like
wanted to say the Painted World of Arrietty, but that's like a Ghibli
yeah,
movie title.
close enough. Close enough. We'll yeah, Ariety. We'll refer to it, and we'll just know that we're wrong, and everyone can feel upset every time they hear it when they know the correct answer and we don't.
Or they can feel like they're better than us because they know the answer. And
There
who
you
doesn't
go.
want to feel like that?
But that for it is so self-contained compared to all the other areas in that game that if you don't, because you can get there before you get the Lord Vessel. You can get there before you can fast travel between bonfires.
I
Which
did.
is, yes.
Yeah.
And when you do that, if you sit at that first bonfire there, dying
You're
doesn't
stuck.
take you back. Dying takes you back to
Mhm.
your last bonfire, which you just rested at in the painted world, which is inside of a painting. So of course there's no normal way to get out.
Yeah.
So you have to finish the painted world in order to get out, and you are stuck there until you do, which is just crazy. I feel like most games are just like, oh, but there's like you can use your teleport
I
back to last bonfire item to get out or something. No, you got to earn
I
it.
I tried to beat Ornstein and Small, I think 4 or 5 times, and I'm just like, I'm gonna just explore the area a little bit more. And then I found that painting. I'm just like, hmm.
You literally get sucked in. It's really funny looking.
I wonder if it's a reference to Mario 64, because all of the levels are done
Oh
via
my
Genuinely.
the
god.
paintings, right?
I've
Oh.
definitely seen like a YouTube poop edit where someone's added the ba 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 and like the ripple effect and
There you
stuff.
go. There you go.
Oh,
I'll
that's
take it.
fantastic.
I'll choose to believe that.
Wow.
uh, and I also think
Yeah,
it's a better area than the Dark Souls 3 callback zone because it just has more character.
yeah,
It's
it has a lot of character. It feels like it is the perfect demo
yeah,
zone too.
yeah.
It is exactly what Dark Souls is, encapsulated
I
into this nice, small, bite-sized, compact area that still feels, very explorable with a bunch of hidden bits and pieces to it.
this is another thing that if I'm wrong about this, I'm gonna come back next time and say that I'm sorry, but it's literally
You got a
too
long list at
complicated.
this point.
I know it's getting scary. It's never let me host ever again. But it's too complicated for me to look up and find immediately. But I'm pretty sure that your assumption is literally correct. I think the Painted World is the first place that they made for Dark Souls 1 when they were making
Oh,
it post Demon Souls, and they like Miyazaki was just like, well, this area is too good to just not like put in the game. What we're not going to waste all this time. Like that would suck. We're already pressed for time completing this game, of which the second half is going to be kind of bad. So we have to put this in. Let's just put it in a painting, and the painting is going to be some nice concept art. I'm pretty sure that is the first area that they made for Dark Souls 1.
that's
Um,
really cool.
yeah,
If it's true.
because it makes sense. Because it is such a good demo. I wouldn't like be surprised if they did like show that to the Sony higher ups that didn't believe in them for Demon Souls and are now forced to believe in them because Demon Souls kicked ass. It'd be like, yeah, we still got it. Here's a good zone. If that was the only thing that I saw from Dark Souls 1, I'd be like, oh, all right, you guys keep going. That's
Take my money,
yeah, there you
please.
go. But yeah, I'm more certain in that than the Glenn Schofield case.
Man, this is gonna be the first time that someone else makes a video about us being like, everything this episode got wrong.
Please just come get mad at us, dude. Come on, like I want to see you try, community.
Give us that publicity.
And then we'll make a reply video to your video where we're just being genuine and sad. And how's that gonna make you feel, huh? All right. I'm gonna we have to have some representation, and Ryan's not here. Someone's got to stick up for the JRPGs, and I'm gonna go through a couple in quick succession and not take too long on any of them because I don't have anyone to bounce off of right now.
Oh.
So
The only one I've played is most of Chrono Trigger and Final
Well.
Fantasy VI.
well.
Oh,
Well, you might remember a little time zone known as 12,000 BC, Alex, from Chrono Trigger, which is
aha.
we'll fill in the story for this because it's Chrono Trigger came out like before humanity founded its first civilization, so it's not going to be a surprise for spoilers, and it fits into the atmosphere of this area, I think, of why it's so effective. Chrono Trigger, Chrono, obviously, you're traveling through time. And you don't come here willingly. I don't think you can. I think you see it
With
on
the
your
majority of the time travel in the game.
Yes, but like you see it on your little time dial on your time machine spaceship thing. But there's no story reason to go there. I don't know if you can't pick it or if there's just no reason to. It's very much you get thrown into a snowy wasteland with your pants down scenario, like we've talked about many times before. Except you get thrown. I think the game starts in like 600 AD. You get thrown almost 12,000 years into the past, and the map is visually like geographically the same, except there is no music. It is just wind, and everything
Oh,
is covered in gray, blinding snow that is just constantly raining down. For an SNES game, it is crazy to have that much of a like. I want to
fantastic
die.
tonal whiplash.
Yeah, seriously. You like
I,
all of the hope in the story just got like obliterated. It's like, oh my god, all the timelines are getting screwed up, and someone that's being used as like a slave for her magic was just forced to send you back in time without your time machine. So you're trapped here, and you get sent so far back that literally like the entire world is unrecognizable and covered in snow. Um, it's crazy. It's super like uncomfortable feeling, and which that is effective enough on its own. But then right after that, everyone I think at some point, with maybe without realizing it, has gotten the YouTube video or some YouTube video recommended to them that has the Chrono Trigger floating islands in the thumbnail, and it's just some like chill beats to I don't know, do a backflip to or something. Whatever quirky subtitle they decide to put in there.
someday on this
Um,
podcast, someday.
that comes after this part where it's just like all the hope in the universe is gone. You literally trudge through like all of humanity that you think is left is like holed up in like underneath a rock basically, and they're all covered in mud and they live in dirt and they have no technology because it's 12,000 years ago. And it's like, wow, this is literally primordially terrifying. And then you go through a portal and you end up in a city of like floating islands with like the most beautiful video game song you've ever heard in your life playing, and it's all like super high magical technology stuff that you haven't seen before, and it's just so like right back in the other direction. Tonal whiplash. It's just crazy. I think. Oh my god.
Isn't the far past one? Isn't there also? I could be misremembering this because it's been so long since I played. Um, there's either one or there's a couple of points in the game where you're able to like prematurely end it by killing
Yes.
the big bad. Is that in the far past? Because I think that's when he or
Yes.
that's when he first resurfaces after. That's when he first crashes,
Yes. You
or when he first
can.
resurfaces.
You because they're the people in the floating island city. Zeal it's called, so that I don't sound stupid to the people that already know what I'm talking about. They're using Lavos as their like magic power, dark magic dude thing or whatever to ruin all the rest of time or whatever. I forget the specifics. But I don't think you can do it on a new game because it's literally it feels like a scripted cutscene because the only spoiler in the story happens at this part, which you know what I'm
Yeah.
talking about. Uh, but in New Game Plus, you can go back with better gear and kill him, and you get an ending.
Mm.
I forget if it's good or worse than the normal one, but
Oh,
yeah. Again, SNES game, which is crazy. There's like 32 endings or something, counting all like
it's
the bad ones.
redonkulous.
I know that you've suggested that I play this game several times.
It's
It's very
even, dare
good.
I say, on mobile, so it's
It
very
is.
easy for you to get your hands on.
Which, from what I understand, is the port that's on Steam.
Yes.
The
Which
And
is
is
mobile port is on Steam?
it's the
welcome to
port that
Square
I shouldn't
Enix.
play. And that's the port that I shouldn't play.
I you I don't think there's much wrong with it until you press the share screen button on Discord, and then it'll just crash left and right, and it's very
Oh,
unfortunate that they haven't.
Apparently,
really
there's
fixed
like
it.
I'm looking at it right now. Apparently, there's like missing cutscenes or something.
oh no.
I don't think so, but I could be
Uh,
wrong.
I didn't hear anything, and they're animated in the sort of Dragon Ball or Studio Ghibli esque
because as you were
vibe.
talking, I was kind of looking this up because I keep getting this game recommended to me, and I keep hearing that the DS port is really good.
Yes.
And then I look around online, and you could buy the DS port for over $100.
And that's not
So
worth it.
why is it so expensive?
Because it's a
Because
really good game and in high
Square
demand.
Enix loves game preservation. I will,
Was it like a limited release on the DS? Because I have a 3DS, so I could play it if I had the DS version. But
I don't know. I don't know about the. I feel like it was like an anniversary thing or something because all like the cutscenes and the extra stuff that they added that make the DS version quote unquote the best one are like special or whatever. So I don't know if it was a special release or anything like that, but I mean, Yeah, the nostalgia wave hits physical releases from the past and just makes them completely unobtainable. That's
Would
why
you would you recommend the Steam version?
I don't think there's enough wrong with it to say to not buy. It's probably on sale right now, I would think, because a lot of other Final Fantasy things
Oh.
are. Um, I would say buy it, but again, save literally every 2 seconds because it does not autosave because it's an SNES game. And if you stream it for people to watch you play on Discord, it will crash left and right. Unfortunately, there's probably a fan mod or something to fix it.
It is only $7.50 on Steam at the
Oh,
moment.
That's worth it. That's super
Nice.
worth it. I literally, like, genuinely, I don't throw this term around all the time, even though I'm super hyperbolic with things I enjoy. I literally finished that game and I was like, all right, yeah, this is probably one of the greatest games of all time. So for $7.50, even for kind of a crummy port, you could do worse. To at least try to understand.
My 3DS is starting to degrade. I should probably get it again.
Yeah.
If it's that cheap.
Yeah, it's to go off topic for a little bit. We're getting to that time now where it's happened so many times. I feel like if you're into self game preservation and getting retro in quotes stuff, you kind of have to be ahead of the curve because like Armored Core 6 is coming out, and I know those old ones are gonna be way too expensive, and they already are. So I like quickly grabbed like 3 of them for like $7 each, and you know.
Was 2 one of the newly acquired ones?
Yes, 2 and 2 another age. Talk about that more a little later. But the other, I need to look at my list again. Another, it's not a JRPG, but it plays enough like one. Undertale. I mean, Snowden. Like the most successful winter vibes ever. I mean, just like in terms of music alone,
That's what he is a composer. It's the
Toby
good
Fox
stuff.
is a legend. Seriously. He manages to convey, and I think it's just like the normal, regular old snowed in like background music, whatever the one that's like. It has like, because we were talking before about like being alone when it's really snowy out is like the most alone that you could possibly feel. Probably like bar like being in space by yourself or something, because like the snow being there dampens all the sound. You cannot hear very well because the snow dampens all the sound, and somehow the way that my man Toby Fox has the piano, which is the only instrument in the song, like muffled a little bit, evokes that feeling, and I just go crazy. My brain is just firing on all cylinders with just I don't know how he does it. That
I'm there with the Pixel Child.
Exactly, with the Pixel
I can
Child
feel it.
and the snow dogs that you can keep petting until they extend into the atmosphere and die.
And then come back around.
Yes. I think that is where like all the dogs are. So that's another like it's another plus for this part of the game because even
Pet the dog.
Exactly, keep petting it.
Pet him again.
But yeah, all the to fire off a few more in quick succession. We got Parasite Eve, which is Christmas in New York City, but everybody's exploding and turning into flesh slime, so you got to stop it. And it's Christmas in New York City, so they, for being a Square Enix game, they replicated that vibe pretty well. In that it is not peaceful and covered in snow, but is brown and noisy and sad, because that is what New York City is like when it snows there. Then you got another thing to break our previous thing of most games having snow areas at the end. I think like the second area you go into in Final Fantasy IX is a snow area. But again, in classic JRPG fashion, it's just, the vibes are off the charts. The music's really weird there, but the crunchy snow backgrounds. You got to fight wind, because wind is blowing through the cave and it blows you around.
Ah, yes, the ultimate video game villain, wind.
Yeah.
I said that only half jokingly. Wind in video games as a mechanic can sometimes mess you up.
Genuinely, combined with the other most dangerous video game mechanic of all time, which is icy floors.
Oh,
Which
Jesus
ruined,
Christ.
depleted many people of all of their available brain
Oh,
cells.
Jesus Christ.
We don't need a
What little they
physics
have
engine
left.
to deal with ice.
Yeah.
Are you kidding?
Yeah, that is an old game staple. That is a game ruiner for a lot of people. I feel like in platformers and older
That's
games.
that's the wombo combo of I don't want to play this game anymore.
Yeah.
You're telling me if I
Very
stand
annoying.
perfectly still, I fly off to the left.
It's cold and it's slippery.
Though I guess to be fair, when we were in college, I had an experience that was exactly like that. Walking back to the dorm one day,
Yes.
which was hilarious.
There was that one night where everyone was slipping and falling everywhere. Like wrestling Ryan slipped and fell in the snow and like hit the back of his head. It was horrible. Our friend Brandon slipped and fell on his Apple Watch and lost a small piece of it, and we had to go back the next day and I found it and I felt like a cool little detective. And that's the only reason I brought up the story.
I get this is a very, very short cutaway. I was just standing on the sidewalk right at the stop sign, waiting to cross. Perfectly still. I look down at my hand for a second, and I guess that shifts my balance somehow to the point where feet perfectly planted on the ground fly out from under me, and I land in the street.
Oh my
And there
God.
are still cars coming, and I get up, and a car clips my knee.
Oh.
So I was like, "Ow, that could have been a lot worse."
You live to tell the tale, and you know what? You're right. You really don't need physics for people to slip on ice.
The part that makes this crazy is because my parents are very overprotective because I am an insane klutz when it comes to stuff like that. I've fallen down my staircase so many times. I definitely have lasting brain damage that's undiagnosed. Which explains a lot. But this is to explain that I also had little rubber strap-on cleats attached to my snow boots who stopped from slipping on the ice that I put on at that crosswalk because I knew it was especially icy. I slipped while wearing the cleats.
And they still weren't enough.
And it's like rubber to fit around the boot, but it's just jagged metal spikes for like these are winter cleats.
You're just a slippery, slippery boy. You're slipping on all that baby paste, Alex.
God. I want to throw up.
Yeah, well, before you barf, now it's your turn.
Well, surprise, surprise, I actually would like to throw my hat into the ring of snow levels and turn-based RPGs. I know, shocker, but I have one to add here. It goes by the name of South Park: The Stick of Truth.
Damn it!
Oh my god.
There is, well, I mean, kind of the whole thing is in snow because it's South Park. But what I wanted to talk about specifically was the section in Canada, because you can travel to Canada and it becomes a hilarious reference to old 8-bit and 16-bit like JRPGs, and everyone's like pixelated and they're walking around and like you enter the area and it's got like the Canadian national anthem and like an 8-bit chiptune thing. It's
oh my god,
it's so funny. Oh, it's so good. And then you can there's
Canadian
an overworld map. Yeah, there's an overworld map, and you travel to like Winnipeg and stuff.
Just like
and then, like you walk. Yeah, and then you walk by like, they have like the little like RPG dialogue where you just walk past someone and they just talk at you, like no prompt whatsoever. They're like, careful traveling outside the city walls, or the dire wolves will tear your anus apart. Dire wolves, they're like regular wolves, only more dire.
Oh my god.
I didn't have much to say outside of that. I just wanted to throw that out there.
I mean, listen, it's a valid addition, and there's two of those, right? There's two South Park.
Yes, the second one is more of like it's more of like the combat's more of like a tactics RPG. than like a traditional turn-based
God.
RPG.
Yeah, it's the fractured but whole, right?
The fractured,
Yes.
Butwhole.
Of
Yeah.
course. Of course.
And it's more superheroes than it is like them dressing up as like knights and wizards and stuff.
I feel like you could only do either of those for one game before.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I literally I remember when they walked out. It was Matt Stone and Trey Parker because they're very involved in like both of these games. And they like walked out on stage at E3 to announce the fractured butthole, and they were like, "Yeah, we completely changed the combat around because the combat in the first game sucked."
That's funny.
Wouldn't want it any other way. But yeah, no, I just wanted to throw that out there. It's this hilarious little bit, and just the way they poke fun at Canada is so funny.
It's exactly as you would expect from South Park, from what I have seen from those games.
Yeah, it's so good. Yeah.
Right,
I did. Oh, right,
never
Alex's
mind.
turn.
No,
No.
We'll let you finish.
Oh, I did say I had another Nintendo game on here.
Do it.
But you know what? I've decided that I have a lot less to say about this than I thought I did, so I'm going to skip it. I was going to talk about the Snow Kingdom in Mario Odyssey. It's a great little level, but surprisingly, now that I'm thinking about it, I don't have too much to say. I want to talk about God of War Ragnarok and Midgard because it's all been Thimble-wintered, which is like one of the first. Yeah, which is like one of the first big signs of the coming of Ragnarok is Thimblewinter, right? And so what's cool about it is that part of how God of War, or at least the new God of War games work, is that you go to one of the realms and it's kind of like a open-ended area. It's not like a full open world.
Open zone.
Open zone, yeah, with some side content and whatever. And in the first game you had the 9 realms, which you could like go around in the canoe, and what was cool is you could raise and lower the water level, so you could the water level, so you could access different like areas in that kind of crater, which was kind of cool. Here, because it's Thimblewinter, it's been completely frozen over, so you're basically exploring the same area again, but in a completely different way. So because you're on like a dog sled being pulled by 2 wolves, which is already just the coolest thing ever. And you like go by areas, you're like, oh yeah, I remember fighting a boss there, or oh, I remember this side quest. But like you're looking at them in different ways, and I just thought that was really, really neat. And it's fun too because it feels more open, because like part of the problem with 2018 is that it felt very like a little too like sectioned off and annoying and linear sometimes. Where it's like I just want to get back to the boat. Why do I have to like slide down 3 different ropes and climb down 2 different walls just to get back to the boat? And here it's like you hop down once and then you're back, and then the dogs kind of follow you around, so you just hop on them and go to the next area. It's a good example of like how they've streamlined a lot of like the slower kind of the slower elements from 2018. So like, oh, if you want to change realms, you have to travel all the way to Tyr's temple, and then you gotta go into the room. You gotta go into the room. You gotta select
they
the
improved
thing.
that for this one?
Oh, you just walk up to a gate and then you say which one you want to go to, and it teleports you there.
Oh hell yeah!
It's awesome.
Perfect.
So
wow, imagine a sequel improving upon aspects from its original. Wow.
Insane. You never would have. Really. And you don't have to do the dumb thing where you have that spike and you have to like find the like holes in that little area that you have to hit in order to unlock a door.
That was a horrible mini game for me.
You don't have to do that. He just goes, and then it opens.
Awesome.
Yes.
It's great. But no, it's a good example of like, here's the same thing. It kind of encapsulates the whole game. Here's a very similar thing as you had before, but streamlined in good ways and improved in all of the good ways. And a lot of it feels very similar, but you're seeing everything through a different perspective, kind of.
Very excited to play it.
It's so good. It's so good. And it does that really cool thing while we're talking about snow. It does that really cool thing where like it just opens on the start screen, right? And it's just Kratos just sitting in a cave looking at like a campfire, right? And you've got your like options, start new game or whatever. And then if you start a new game, the menu goes away and then the game just starts. Because it's like you're already on the first shot, and it's
Cool.
like, it's so cool.
Do they still do the one take camera thing?
Yes, the entire game is in one camera take. It never cuts. It's the coolest thing I've ever seen.
Good stuff.
Anyway,
that is pretty cool.
Yeah.
All right, then I guess it's me, so I don't have to make Brett say, "Okay, Alex, what about you?"
Okay, Alex, what about you?
Jesus Christ!
God. Oh God, what's my list thingy? All right, so it's time for the game and the game series that I will never shut up about for as long as I live.
I was
Uncharted,
waiting for it. Yes.
Specifically, the
Yep.
second game. To say that, this one has snow areas in both the beginning and the end of it. Yeah, because it's a flash forward.
Edius Res, as they call it.
Yeah, you wake up on a train. I don't. Am I okay to say spoilers for Uncharted 2?
I think
feel like
we've talked about this sequence before.
It's one of those things where like it's a newer-ish game relatively to gaming history as a whole, but I think everybody knows this thing about it, so it's not really a surprise.
And it's the I'm not entirely sure what to call the technique where it's just it just completely like the reveal of I'm sideways.
Oh, Lois, I'm on a slant.
Lois, why am I at a
dear
Dutch angle?
Oh God!
Hey, that's getting too cinematic.
Peter, we just started the game, Peter.
It is one of the best.
the bit ends here.
Like,
we can't keep going.
like besides just being a good snow level aesthetically, the immediate res of that, getting through the train, you're in the belly of the whale. You're at like Nathan's lowest point in that. The trudging through the snow, I think it's added to it because you're really hurt, so you're walking slowly with you're waiting for the jam to clear from your screen type thing.
Yeah.
But God, the trudging through the snow feels all the more impactful in that one, especially because they were showing off that nice physics bit of look at your feet going through it. Look at the snow collapsing in when it gets too shaky in places, and you can see tracks of enemies too.
Oh,
Yep.
That's cool.
Yep. And while we're on the topic of Uncharted 2, this isn't. I mean, there's snow in it. It's not like a full winter level, but it's got snow in it, so I'm going to count it. Scotland from Uncharted 4 is one of my favorite levels in Uncharted 4 because it's a lot of just you and Nathan's brother just chatting it up, and they've got really fun dialogue. There's a great bit where you're doing some treasure hunting down in like a secret tomb underneath a gravestone. And just like, I mean, Scotland, if you've ever seen pictures of Scotland before, it's gorgeous. It's beautiful.
Basalt cliffs are to die for. It is a perfect view.
And it's got that perfect, like, that perfect atmosphere of like, it's not full on winter, but it's coming, you know, like you can, there's a bit of snow on the ground. It's like a gross, dirty snow, but it's there and everyone is still bundled up, and like the trees don't have leaves and the grass is a little yellow and stuff. It's a time of year that I actually really like, despite it looking very drab. There's something about it. There's something, and again, maybe it's the rural Vermont, Vermonter in me, but there's something really like nice and kind of weirdly inviting about it, I guess I'd say. And they got that really well. And there's tons of great sequences where you're like sliding down little like ice sheets or like giant like gravel like stone
the
slides
gravel
and
falling
stuff
down with you.
Yep, it's such a great, and like all of the encounters are really fun. There's a lot of like Uncharted 4 had a lot of verticality in the levels this time around. Like the level design, like since the first Last of Us, their level design like just leveled up like 20-30 levels. It just
the grappling hook
so good.
Also 100% added to it's
put a grappling hook in a video game and you're gonna make it better. I just listen, I'm a simple man, okay? But no, it's one of my favorite sequences just because I think it's really, that whole segment is really well paced. It ends with a fun, like, we gotta swing and slide off into the
your little
water
runaway time.
and then swim to Sully's classic airplane, his classic plane. And it's just gorgeous. It's really well paced, which I've said already is very, very important. And all the levels are really well designed, and it's a great sequence. And again, I think it's unique in the discussion because it has that like winter is coming but it's not quite here feel, and it gets that really, really well.
I need to play an Uncharted. It's about time.
Yes, you do. Listen, if you play Uncharted, stream it because I want your reactions live. I really do.
It's been had enough sitting and listening to everyone talk about it like once a week at this point.
I think you would like it.
Probably.
I feel like anyone who has an appreciation for like Call of Duty campaigns will like it.
When you say play Uncharted, are you going to play like every game including one? I wouldn't recommend one.
I'm gonna say this one. Okay, I've said this before. I love this series. It's one of my favorite game series of all time.
Yep.
4 is my personal favorite. It's one of my favorite games. It's so great. Uncharted 1 is so bad. It's so bad, and I'm so glad.
Is powerful.
Listen. All right.
Then I really look forward to seeing your experience with that, because you can get the digital collection. I think is
there's
1 through 3.
There's the remastered trilogy. That's 1 through 3.
And then there's also the new PS5 version of the bundle of 4 and Lost Legacy. That's
but if you
they're being sold together immediately now.
Yeah, but if you have a PS4, you can play the original trilogy at 60 frames per second. Mwah. And then even at 30 frames, Uncharted still plays real good. So
I mean, if that's what it came out as, then it's probably fine.
Yeah. I think definitely with 4 they learned a lot from The Last of Us and like incorporated it in, not in a way that like where it makes it feel like a different game, but like incorporated it in a smart way. Definitely. So
well, I mean, we're getting close to the time. Looking at my my little timer here, we got to start wrapping up. But I might as well do a little rapid fire just to finish things up before we get into the outro.
Yeah.
Here I just throw out some ideas. It doesn't really matter. The ones at the top of my head are Metal Gear Solid 1, because that whole game is in the snow. It's in Alaska, and Signalis has multiple times where you're in the snow and very sad.
Oh.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Beginning. Yeah.
I haven't gotten to a second part in the snow. Crap.
Special shout out to 2 different games that are all part of the same franchise. The Hoth levels from the original Battlefront 2. And you know what? I'm also going to shout out, well, first of all, the original Battlefront 2, just because that's a great map, a great multiplayer map. You've got the ATs coming in. You got to take all the bases around the outside of the map, and there's all the ice tunnels and stuff. Great mission, great level, love it. But I'm also going to shout out not the new Battlefront 2, but the original Battlefront that came out in like 2015, 2016, whatever it was, just because the first time I played that level, I've never played a Star Wars game with that level of fidelity, and just walking around on Hoth was one of the coolest things. Even if the game itself is what it is, I don't think it's terrible, but it's the equivalent of like picking up action figures as a kid of your Star Wars action figures and just going
exactly. Yeah,
completely incoherent.
Yeah, that's why both of those things are why I think I like that more than Battlefront 2. To be honest with you, I think that game's more dumb fun.
Yeah. But I mean, it like, and it was so funny because my dad wanted to watch because he's a big Star Wars fan too. So when I loaded up the game for the first time and it loaded it on Hoth, and we were just like, wow, this is crazy. I looked down, and this was still at a time when we were still trying to perfect footsteps in the snow in a 3D game, and they never quite looked right, but they looked really good here. And I was freaking out because I was like, I kind of somewhat understand how difficult that is to pull off, and they did it so well. And I was freaking out about all the little details, and you saw like the Viper droid and everything, and just all the little details. You were freaking out because again, you'd never seen you'd never played a Star Wars game that looked and sounded that good, and it was amazing.
That was the
Amazing.
time where it felt like DICE could make anything. My
It's
God.
Oh, sorry.
Oh, no. Go ahead. Go ahead.
Are there any snow levels in the what's the game that's the original to the sequel that's coming out with Cal Kestis? Are there any snow levels with
Yes. You go to you go to the planet where you get your I forget the planet name off the top of my head. But it's the planet that all Jedi go to get their Kyber crystal, because the Kyber
Oh.
crystal calls out to them, and they use that Kyber crystal to make their lightsaber. And it's also the planet, and they subtly hint at this in the game. It has nothing to do. Doesn't have anything to do with spoilers in the story, so I can say this. But they hint at that's the planet that they use for the Starkiller base in the sequels, and you can see like the beginning construction of it, which I thought was a really cool detail.
Oh, that's really cool.
Yeah,
Nice.
that's a nice bit of subtle world building that I quite enjoyed, and that was a good level. Again, a low point in the story.
There you go.
That's another good example. I can't believe I forgot about that, but that's totally, yeah.
Oh, I had slightly less than I thought. I have a definite and then a kind of that's mostly based on vibes. My definite other snowy level bit is from my favorite Pokemon game, Pokemon Diamond and Pearl. That snowy area up in the north there, where the movement in Diamond and Pearl to begin with, I think, has definitely caught the eye of people saying that, oh, it definitely feels a lot slower, or the overall pace is a lot slower than other Pokemon games. And then when you walk in the snow, your movement speed is reduced by, I feel, at least 50%.
Yeah, probably.
And it is absolutely a trudge to get through. But also, there's a little, if you manage to have friends to trade you the Reggies from Emerald or Sapphire, Ruby, I think those are
We're gonna
the
get yelled
games.
at by Pokemon.
Sapphire, Emerald, or Ruby. Yeah, no, those are the games with the Reggies, the 3 original Reggie, Rock, Ice, and Steel on them. If you have those in Pokemon Diamond and Pearl in your party, and you happen to go up to a fun little ruin that has one of their nice ice and rock and pushing puzzles things that you could, that was a fun time. There's a fun little sort of like mini puzzle dungeon down in there that you get, where you can get Regigigas.
Yeah,
Regigigas?
big
Yeah.
man.
Yeah. You can get the big man on Hippocampus. And yeah, this was also a time when it was just the 2D Pokemon games, where you couldn't completely skip an ice level by walking diagonally and breaking the gym like you can in the most recent Pokemon game. You don't slip when you walk diagonally, it turns out.
Because why
and you
would
can
anyone
just go
walk
up the
diagonally?
stairs.
Oh my goodness.
That's funny. My God.
Rapid fire, gonna shout out Rise of the Tomb Raider, which is the second rebooted Tomb Raider games. Like, most of the game takes place in the snow, and
Yeah.
it definitely gets across that Lara is cold throughout the entire thing. She is freezing. And that's just a solid trilogy of games right there, except for the third one, which is kind of boring. But
Drop
it's
the
a
ball.
good solid trilogy of games right there. And the second one, there's a lot of snow, and there's even a mission where you fight Baba Yaga.
Oh.
Yes.
No, I'm
Yeah.
not kidding. No, I'm not kidding. You fight the crazy witch lady that lives in the woods, that lives in a house on chicken legs.
That was some fun DLC.
Awesome.
That was some funky DLC right there.
I think my last rapid fire shout out's gonna be multiple times they do this in Ace Combat, where you thought walking through the snow in a blizzard was difficult. We talked about it a little bit before, but flying through it at the speed of a jet plane is pretty wacky when they do that to you. There's one mission in Ace Combat 5 where one of your co-pilots that you can command through the entire game got downed in the last mission, and you just you adore them so much by this point that you are not going to leave her down there, and the whole mission is you doing air support while a search team searches for her. And even though like so much is happening at once, the music is very just like almost unfittingly soft, and you can't see anything in front of you because there's snow everywhere, and the comm chatter is all filled up of like updates from the mission on the floor and people complaining that they're cold, and all the enemy planes and friendly planes complaining about how they can't see anything and they're getting blown around all over the place, and also the comm chatter from your co-pilot who was downed talking about how people are trying to kill her and she killed all of them in the snow. It's really, really sick. That mission rocks. And yeah, they do more ice things after that, but I think Ace Combat 5 is the best example. And I think, unless anyone else has more examples, I think we can move on to the actual shout-outs.
I have the one more that's just the vibes, and that I would recommend because it is also right now on Game Pass, so you can try it for free. Potion Craft. I feel like that's one of the very sort of management things that I was talking about earlier, that it gives off wintry vibes, and it is on Game Pass for a wintry time. And it's fun. It has a very fun art style to it. I'd recommend it.
Perfect time for some wintry vibes. I had something on my brain for a shout out, but I forgot it, so someone else go first.
All right. Oh god, I had like 5 different things that I wanted to shout out. And now they're all now they're all gone. No. All right. This is one of them. I'm gonna shout out the little creatures that you find in Mario Odyssey in the Snow Kingdom. They're these little like rotund seal creatures,
Yeah.
and they are the cutest little things you've ever seen in your entire life. They are so adorable, and they have these adorable like really low, like deep voices, and they just kind of bounce around.
Good.
and there's a whole thing you have to do to get some power moons, where you have to do a race where they roll, but it's not just rolling the race. You have to bounce around the racetrack, and it's so good. It's so good. Brett?
I was waiting for Alex to go. I will go instead since I remembered. I have, some people would consider it a chore, but I have gone back and I've begun playing the old Armored Core games to hype myself up for the new one. I literally I see robot on the screen and I get excited. And I got excited without having any prior experience to the old ones, other than absolutely hating them because they control like absolute dog shit. But it got justified to me recently by, I completely forgot who, and they described it as it is not the fantasy of being the giant robot that is being emulated. It is the fantasy of piloting a giant robot that is being created, and that tilted my brain in the correct direction to understand that you're not controlling an action here. You're controlling someone controlling a clunky like 40-foot tall hunk of steel that has rocket engines on the back of it and can overheat and explode. So yeah, the new one's going to control completely differently, because by the time they get to the PS3, which they did after the PS2 obviously because that's how numbers work, FromSoft realized that thumbsticks existed, and they did not force you to use tank controls anymore. But yeah, so far I've gotten through 2 and most of 2 Another Age, and they do actually, as long as you could deal with the controls, hold up pretty well. They're pretty dang fun if you can find them. And if I snubbed you for that one auction on eBay for Armored Core 2 Another Age for $7, I'm not sorry, because now it's mine. Okay, Alex.
Wyatt changed my shout out to what it is because I completely forgot what my original one was as well.
Wow.
And it is now I remember a while ago I did like one of those fun little artist draw these 6 characters in your style type thing. And for one of them, I think it was you, Brett, who recommended Vegeta.
Yes!
And I did Vegeta, and in his hand, instead of the Dragon Ball, he has a seal in the shape of an orb.
Yes!
And he just has a little word bubble that says, BL.
Because in the original manga or whatever, he has 2 word bubbles coming out of his face. Oh my god, I forgot about that. That's good.
I'll find the picture again and send it to everyone, but it made me very happy to remember that.
Please. Oh my god. Well, bar anything going horribly wrong when I go to splice the very beginning and end out to make this uploadable to YouTube, that's the end for this episode. Just imagine the music's playing because I don't have it. Dance anyway.
You did it, Brett. We're proud of you.
I know. I made it through with only minor mental trauma. But yeah, tune in next week. I believe we're officially changing to Tuesday at 7 p.m. now because I think Ryan said that was doing a good job.
For some reason.
For some reason, I don't know. Actually, not next week because we're going to be on a little bit of a short hiatus because next week is Christmas.
It's Christmas
so we're
time.
not recording on that.
Yeah, but who celebrates Christmas?
No one. I don't. Are any of us religious here? Do we just celebrate it for Santa and that's it? I don't know.
I'm here for Santa time.
For my family, it's an excuse to like have a little family reunion and just give presents to each other.
Exactly.
We do like a little secret Santa thing. So yeah.
And then the next week, it's New Year's, and I think Ryan has something else going on for that. Well, you'll know when we're back. Ryan will tweet something out. He'll say something. But yeah, short few weeks of absence. Have a happy holiday season because we won't be able to say it when Christmas is closer. See you guys next time.